come from New York, so I tend to talk fast, but if you can't pace with me, my email is in the corner. So my name is Ashley Ammons, and I am co-founder of a company called Mixtroz. I do feel like I need to give you guys a little bit of background, origin story, so you understand the why behind why this technology exists. So I come from, my background is when I was in undergrad in Cleveland, Ohio, I started my career. I became LeBron James' first intern. That led me to discover I have a love for events. So I moved to New York City and I started working at a luxury hospitality company called Tao Group. Tao Group is huge today, but I was working for them when they were a startup. So I grew my career from an executive assistant to director of events. I was working on events anywhere from $10,000 upwards of a few $1,000,000. So why does Mixtroz exist? So first of all, Mixtroz stands for Mixer and Introduction Smushed Together. We are a company that is used to increase peer-to-peer engagement and collect data wherever 50 or more people are gathered live, virtually, or a hybrid of the two. The reason that my mom and I came up with this business is because we experienced the problem of networking on the same weekend way back in 2014. So at the time, my mom was a senior HR executive and she was working for a number of Fortune 5 and 100 companies. We both went to an event and we realized that when people go to events, they want to network, but they tend to exhibit one of three behaviors. The first behavior is people go to events with people they know and then they stick with those people. The second is people may go to events alone. They may have the best intentions for meeting new people, but they very likely will not do it because they'll walk into a room, beeline towards people that they know, or we naturally tend to gravitate towards people who look like us, and that's just sociology working against us all. The third thing that happens in the digital age is people will walk into a room, they can't find someone to engage with, and so they will disengage from the room completely. All of that presents a problem because we know that when people come to events and they're engaged, they're more likely to purchase, donate, sign up, and keep coming back. So we use Mixtroz to solve for this problem. So now I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to walk you guys through how our software Mixtroz Live works. So of course, we are available virtual, we can do hybrid, but let's talk about live because hopefully we'll be getting back to that soon. So if all of us today on this call were at a venue together, and Mixtroz was being used to facilitate our breakfast, lunch, or dinner seating, here is what we would do as an attendee to get that seat. So Mixtroz is app-based. We have downloads available in iOS and Android, but of course we also have a web app available too, so that we can avoid that additional friction. So your attendee is going to take about 1 minute and 15 seconds over the course of the day to input this information so that when it's time to get seated for whatever that time is in the event, they will then have their seat. So they're going to launch the Mixtroz application. It's going to pull up the mixes that are around them. So any place that you see a logo or photo, that is an area that's customizable. They're going to start the process by filling out a virtual name tag. That's the first step in Mixtroz. So they're going to take a photo of themselves. Let me pause here and say, we have them take a photo because we have found over time that when people take photos of themselves, they will more than likely show up for the group that they've been assigned to. It's like that FOMO thing going on. So we ask them for the photo, and then the next step in this is just going to be a simple information grab. We're going to get their name and their email address so that all the data that they input into Mixtroz is captured somewhere, and you can then follow up with people after the mix is over. One thing to note is we do work with a lot of companies in high security, so we do not ask attendees to log in through third-party applications, which tends to keep us on the right side of GDPR and other things like FERPO for our university customers. So the third and final thing that happens in Mixtroz is a question series. This is the most important thing. So every time you as a organizer run a mix, you have the opportunity to ask your attendees a series of questions. These questions can be anything that you would like. Inside of our system, we have a question library. So more often than not, I see customers using some of our questions, some of their questions to round out a question set. Every time you ask a question, you get to determine how that question is going to affect the way that your people are matched. So what we're doing is allowing the organizer to engineer the serendipity that they know would be valuable, because in this landscape of like AI and VR and all of that, the actual best connector of people is humans. So that's what we allow our humans to do. So attendee is going to see a question. Everything on the screen is customizable. So the question is, I live in. There are 4 options. If the organizer weights this question similar, those people who say I live in the city will be grouped together. Those who say I live off the grid will be grouped together, and so on. If the organizer weights this question diverse, you're going to get the opposite of that. So you're going to get a mixture of these available answers inside of attendee groupings once they're made. You can also choose not to weight this particular question at all, email. In that case, you're going to collect the data. So attendee goes through, they answer questions. When they get done, they're going to reach a countdown clock. So this happens in both the live and virtual format. So on the live side of things, when it's time to meet your group, you are going to see a physical meeting location. So this is more often than not a table number. So this group of 5 is going to table number 1. Another important differentiator about Mixtroz is we don't match people one-to-one. Why? Because 9 and 10 people say they prefer to meet people in a small group setting the first time they're going to get together. So your attendees see this, they're going to walk to the location that they've been assigned for lunch or whatever, and then we present them with icebreakers that you customize for them. They also get access to their group specific data points, because that becomes an engagement point. You can also layer in a group activity, and they can share contact information with one another after this experience is over. So in about the minute I have left, I'm going to run you through some things. So let's see. So this is what a Mixtroz dashboard looks like. Throughout the time that the mix is open, you can see what your user adoption is. So if you have 500 people on a Zoom or in a room, you can see how much user adoption you have within Mixtroz throughout the duration that this mix is open. For someone to complete Mixtroz virtual, they can use this link that's provided to them in our dashboard. You give that to them, and then they're able to complete all the steps you just saw me do on that video. They can complete them straight from their browser, and they can use Mixtroz in conjunction with whatever you're using to host the main part of your conference. And then of course, all the data that you capture is in your Mixtroz dashboard. The last thing I'll show is we are actually relaunching the product in Q3. And that is because, of course, like everybody else, we learned a ton of stuff over the course of COVID.